I'm executive producer for the film Hapi. And along with me, you have the director, Fredo, and one of also associate producers, interviewing my brother right here, Ron. Decided we're doing a lot of work on this film. There's definitely a significant body of work that was done. Like myself included, we've done some work on other films, Nubia, The Tekken. This is definitely groundbreaking in the sense that where we're taking it. This film itself, we're trying to break barriers. We're trying to break barriers and expand beyond what people feel we can do on this level. As a grassroots team, as a startup film company and film production, we're trying to go internationally. We're going internationally. We're going globally. And we're making this something that a film that can reach many people. We're breaking down barriers in terms of marketing barriers. We're breaking down barriers in terms of demographics. Our demographic is universal and worldwide.
My name is Ron. They call me Rob. You know, when I saw Taki the last time we met up and we talked, we was talking about economic development in our community. So I was like, yo, you know what? We need to do something when we talk about economics. A lot of times people talk about the history. That's great. A lot of times they talk about the social, and that's great. But nobody talks about the economic. So we need to do something about economics. You know, we need to talk about wealth development in our community. We're a $1 trillion nation. We spending billions of dollars on a lot of things. But we're not circulating that dollar. We're not congregating that dollar, aggregating that dollar. What we got to do? So I said, yo, maybe you know the things with history. I'm on the economic, getting this money thing. Why don't we just put something together, show how in history we was, you know, top dogs at one time. We can get that once again, you know? He was like, yo, you know what? I'm working on a situation. I'm working on this thing called Hapi. Hapi's the Nile, and that's where, you know, back in ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt, they said, yo, you know, they was doing it. I was like, all right, yeah, you know what I mean? Let's do something. It's like, all right, bet, I'll be in touch. The following day, word is born. Next day, give me a holler. Yo, Rob, Hapi, let's make it happen. I was like, all right, let's do it.
And it's funny you say that because as he's speaking, I'm like, wow, he's starting to remind me of certain things, and that's really what it is. Hapi, the film Hapi itself is a tie-in between history and economics because we're dealing with the historical aspects of economics. We're going back to the beginning, talking about just simple barter and trade and how the surplus of goods in the Nile was now being able to trade to other nations, which grew the Egyptian economy, which in a sense transformed the landscape as we know it, which built the pyramids and the temples and so forth and things like that. So economics definitely has a direct tie. Then we move in further into the video when we start to deal with the transatlantic slave trade, which is the economic foundation for the Western civilization, the Western Hemisphere. But to make all that come together and to put it together, some and film and do it properly, I came to my brother here, Fredo, and he's definitely the one who can really talk about the whole cinematography aspect of it.
This is Alfredo Williams. I'm the director of Hapi and also the editor. I really approached this project, or really took it on because, like I said, I wanted to bring the a style and very cinematic look to it. Opposed to a lot of the documentaries we've seen before. So I just view it like this, on the locations, as far as being the actual sites, that certain aspects or certain scenery we really need to grasp onto so people can see the visually. So I'm actually here to tell the visual story of the actual film. So pretty much with my trained eye, that's why they kind of came to me and approached me with the project. So we can try to put it, we definitely can put it to a bigger level. And historically, we can go ahead and tell the story right, how it's supposed to be. Right?
See,
it's right.
And that's the important thing is capturing things visually. So on film that people can't see. It's one thing to put it still and doing voiceovers. We were actually there on location, and that's what we're doing with this film, Hapi.
I'm gonna go ahead and add to that. Besides that too, like you said, let me correct him on that. This is stuff that you see, but this is stuff that you're not aware of. Mm. So it's like a lot of places that you said, like the Washington Monument and even Wall Street. These places are places that we go past all the time and don't know exactly what significant role it has to do with us, as far as historically.
Yeah.
It's there. It's right there. All that information is right there. So I think us going on site and really telling the story visually, and you capturing it, you able to talk about it and actually explain to people what it is. That's what really separates us from a lot of people.
And that's the part we were talking about, the separation. The separation is taking you there. People see the stuff, it's all around them. And that's one of the things, that was actually the subtitle of the Tekken, was uncovering, ancient Egypt. So it's things hidden in plain sight. People walk by every day. Like, One World Trade Center is there. But if you don't know what you're looking at, you won't see it. You don't know what's going on around you. You walk past it like,
1,800 feet, one of the biggest structures in what, Western Hemisphere?
Western Hemisphere.
Right. And nobody has a clue what it is.
And you look at it, like I said, it's all online. And basically, the architect, not basically, they'll tell you, this is what we designed it as. We designed it as an obelisk.
Exactly. 2 pools of water, just everything.
It almost, it was funny, we were talking about the Tekken. One of the things the Tekken delved into was, and this goes into what the great scholar Anthony Browder talked about in Egypt on the Potomac, was Washington, D.C. being a replica, in a sense, of certain aspects of ancient Egypt. And when you go to the Temple of Karnak, or the Temple of Karnak in Luxor, you have the Tekken or the obelisk, or several there. You have the pool, or the pool in front of the Lincoln Memorial. You have the pillared columns. Like, all that's there.
It's there.
And the same thing you see in Egypt as versus DC. Now, you have the pools, which Fredo was referring to. They planted the trees along a pathway there to replicate temple design. As you go deeper and deeper to the temples of Egypt, you go further and further to the sanctuary, and the darker it gets, almost to symbolize that beginning, or that blackness, or that womb of creation. And that's what you have down there in Lower Manhattan. So we need to understand, our history, and where history and culture plays into the fact. Then we talk about the World Trade Center, now you have the economic piece tied.
Just going to say, now
You
you're
know what I'm
talking about
Now
economics,
you're
you're
talking
talking
about
about Wall Street,
Right.
and you're talking about, that's the finance of the world.
Here you have economics, culture, and politics all tied in together, right before your very eyes, but you won't see it.
Right.
You won't see.
But if you watch Hapi, you'll see it and you'll understand.
Absolutely.
Hapi is actually the third. First one was done right now, almost 11 years ago. And it was called Nubia, and titled The Untold Story, or subtitled The Untold Story. And it was important because Nubia deals with, or Nubian history, I should say, is a part of our story that hasn't been told. We all know about Egypt. A lot of people have no idea there's more pyramids in Sudan than there are in Egypt. The reason why I feel they don't want to talk about Nubia as opposed to Egypt, because unlike Egypt, Nubia is unmistakably black. And to tell that story is almost to rewrite history. But when you talk about Nubia and the untold story, you're talking about Egypt, because Egypt is a byproduct of Nubia. So I had the opportunity to travel there several times to the Sudan and capture a lot of footage. And I just came in contact with people who was like, Taki, you got something here that you got to do something with. And I was like, wow. At that point, film wasn't really in my scope. I didn't really see it in the lens. But it was like, yeah, you got something. So we did it and told a very powerful story. Moving forward from that, we did something referred to as a film called the Tekken. Tekken is the African symbol for resurrection and rebirth. And people call it an obelisk. But that is the untold story. Or, uncovering ancient Egypt. Because you see Tekken, so obelisks all around major cities around the world. But why? Obviously, most people are familiar with the Washington Monument. There's an actual original Egyptian Tekken or obelisk in Central Park. They're in Rome, Paris, London, Istanbul, all major cities.
Right, nobody knows what it is.
Right, they're more in Rome than they're in Egypt. They were actually taken out. Most people didn't realize that One World Trade Center is an actual obelisk or Tekken. The chief architect, David Childs, actually says that he designed it as an obelisk. But if you understand what a Tekken represents in terms of it being a symbol for resurrection and rebirth, you would understand why they put it there at ground zero for what occurred. Also, when you go past the cemetery, sometimes people use that symbol as a grave marker or as a tombstone because it represents resurrection and rebirth. So the Tekken definitely was something that was new and was innovative in that on this level, because like Fred was saying before, a lot of the documentaries are just interviews. There is no on location filming done. That was the first time we took it to that on this level, was taken to that level. We did actually on location filming. We were in DC, at the on 16th Street, at the monuments, Jefferson, Lincoln, Washington, and Memorial Park, Meridian Hill Park, and people got a chance to see stuff they wouldn't necessarily see.
Right.
And that's the important thing is capturing things visually. So on film that people can't see. It's one thing to put it still and doing voiceovers. We were actually there on location, and that's what we're doing with this film Hapi. So, along with the individuals we mentioned, we also have a sister from Atlanta by the name of April Mason. She deals with economics. She also deals with wealth building, but also wealth building from the sense of understanding who we are and relationship building. I think one of the problems with the community is wealth suffers because we don't understand relationships. And one of the most prominent relationships is the relationship between a man and a woman, growing families. Because once that's established, if you have this, I have that, we put it together, we have more. We need to understand that. We need to come together and understand. Just something as simple as that can help us. And our children now are at a better position. And we need to move forward and just start trying to love each other again. Black men, black women need to come together and form family structures. We're totally have gotten away from that. One of the people we interview also is AZ Faison. Most people are familiar with the movie Paid in Full and the story with AZ, Alpo, Rich Porter, and the story that was told with their economic escapades and the things they went through. But we need to understand economic from all aspects and all degrees and all avenues, all corners.
Right.
And one of the things talking about the corner hustlers and why economically they did the things they did. What was their driving force? And how could some of the younger people seeing this understand some of the pitfalls that they may have experienced and how they can avoid them? And some of the things that, some of the goods in it, some of the things that they did maybe positively to help the community. And also the negative aspects as well, which we all aware of those things. But we need to understand why this occurred, and because it's such a big part of our community, and it deals with economics, and also understanding this too. Let's not forget that Reaganomics dealt heavily with the drug trade.
That's right. In the 80s.
Right,
Yeah.
which dealt heavily with changing the landscape of the economy of the world, not just this country, but this world. And just how the cocaine cowboys that they talked about, people were allowed to do things. It said for many times, it was it was lines of drug dealers, crackheads around the corner, cops going by, like not doing anything. What does that tell you? They needed certain things to happen to put a boost, to inject a certain amount of flow of currency or the current of economics, which goes back to the title of the film, Hapi, because we're dealing with the current of the river. Right. So the currency and current is something that goes simultaneously or hand in hand. And there's a lot of others, several others that we haven't necessarily confirmed yet. Some people, Egyptologists in the area of Sudanese Egyptian studies that we're trying to confirm for the list. Maybe several economists, Dr. Flynn Anderson, maybe also one of them. Another sister we talked to, Maggie Anderson. We're just trying to confirm up the interviews and get it locked down. The intended date for Hapi is this fall. We're looking at late September or early October to actually come out with an official release. We would like you there at the premiere. Please show your support, and we look forward to seeing you. We're looking for your support. Please go to the crowdfunding on our website. Mm-hmm. Also, Kickstarter, Indiegogo. We're really out there. We're trying to get the word out to people. You'll see us in the street. Just you can get in contact with any of us. The email address is on the website. telephone numbers. If you have any questions about the future, about the past, where the project's going, what we intend to do. But this isn't it. We're planning on taking this to another level.